I'm one of your middle-class Americans, and quite frankly, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted of defending you, defending your administration, defending the mantle of change that I voted for, and deeply disappointed with where we are right now.
Wow, back to our specialist from Harvard. Who do we have on the show? Velma Hart, from that famous moment with the President of the United States, voicing her frustration with unemployment in this country, faced now by millions. Is the economy finally picking up? And what more does President Obama need to do to get it moving? Velma Hart, of course, joins me. To my immediate right and to my further right is the mayor of Detroit, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, David Bing. Thank you, sir. Your Honor, I have to start with elected officials.
Absolutely.
Detroit is, I think, the image of the deindustrialized America. How are we doing with the big auto companies, the big three? Are they hiring again?
Well, Ford has just made an announcement that they're going to hire another 7,000 people over the next couple of years, but that's going to be minuscule, in my opinion, to what's going to happen in the supplier industry. As they continue to build inventory and to build for 14 million units, there's going to be a lot of employment opportunities in the supply base.
Is that going to reach the inner city people in Detroit itself, or is that a suburban opportunity?
Oh, absolutely. It will be a positive impact in Detroit, no doubt about it.
How about the other two, GM and Chrysler? How are they doing?
I'd say GM is doing very well. Chrysler is still iffy, but they're coming along. And I think there's a lot of positive movement right now in the automotive industry.
20 years from now, will it still be the Motor City?
It will be the Motor City 20 years from now, because I think the technology that is centered around the city of Detroit, with our R&D universities, engineers are coming out, and it's going to be very positive over the long haul.
Velma, there's a new movie coming out. I got a sneak preview it the other night. Middle-aged white guys, basically. It's like it's Kevin Costner, it's Ben Affleck, it's Tommy Lee Jones. It's these guys are all, and Chris Cooper, the cowboy-looking guy. They're all out of work. They all had jobs for 30, 40 years, and these big, heavy industry jobs. In this case, shipbuilding, thrown out of work. They're part of a downgrading, or what do you call it, downsizing. Your attitude about this whole thing. What do we know? What have you learned since being on television with the president?
What I've learned and what I know in the 4 months since I've been on television with the president is that things aren't always what they seem. The thing that's been very troubling to me, and I was thrilled that you invited us here for this program today, especially on such an important day, Martin Luther King's birthday, and our recognition of that, is that there's still a gap. There's still a huge gap in race relations, in how we view this president's administration, in how the Congress and the classes of people in the Congress will advance the agenda.
How do you put it together? 16% unemployment.
Oh, yeah.
It's among African Americans.
Yeah.
Right now, let me give you the numbers. Now, overall, the unemployment rate compared to the rate among African Americans and Latinos, overall the rate is 9.4 actually among Latinos. Is 13 among African Americans and 16. Most people know this, by the way. Americans know.
Well, they know
when there's unemployment, the African Americans get hurt more than other people.
Yeah, they know it intuitively, but the data matters because that validates it. I actually did a piece a couple of months ago for the Griot on exactly this issue, and it's a troubling outcome of this unemployment environment. You know,
is this LIFO, last in, first out, that phenomenon?
Absolutely not. I wish it were that simple. If it was that simple, then we could manage to it. You know, one of the things that I've done as a finance professional and as a diversity professional in my own career is I believe that if you're going to change things from a race relationship standpoint, it has to be very deliberate. It has to be absolute. You have to go after it like you're going after a car. And I don't see that type of effort. I don't see that deliberate nature. I see us still talking about unemployment, talking about the economical disadvantages from a race standpoint, from a very, generic standpoint.
Let me go to the mayor. Your Honor, the question is that there's the old Democratic way of creating jobs. They would create seated jobs. Public employment. They'd come up with something for people to do. It'd be demand-driven, right? They would find work for people, put a lot of people on the payroll. Is that the way Obama should go, the old liberal way, or what? What do you think?
Absolutely not. I don't think so. It's all about value and the value proposition. If you don't bring value to the table, you ought not be there, quite frankly. So, I was an independent entrepreneur for 29 years, and now that I'm into politics, I even believe in the municipal area, people have to bring value to the table. You cannot just create jobs and give people employment when they're not bringing value.
Absolutely. And I'd just like to add on to that. I think the whole objective of all of us is to have meaningful work, gainful work, not just a job. We want to do something that matters to us.
Well, how do we, digital divide
Yeah.
between the kid who comes out of high school, the kid with a B average or a C average. I'm not talking about the geniuses. The real smart kids are going to find their way to Michigan State, and get good jobs. But what do we do for the young man who's 18, coming out of school with a B or C average? Got through all right, not a troublemaker. What's for him today?
I think there are lots of things
What's
for him today.
Give me an example.
One of the strategies, and my daughter's pretty strong academically.
Okay.
But what I will say to you is that she considered the community college road for her first 2 years as an easy way to kind of mainstream herself into the college environment and then to go to university now. It looks like it's going to be different for her, but I think that's a pathway. Yeah. I certainly think the military, being a veteran myself, that's a pathway. I think there are great opportunities.
Ms. Arnott, what do you say when you look at the kids coming out of your high schools in Detroit? Not the geniuses, the regular kids. Where are they going to end up? Where could they go to?
They've got to forget about the history of the automotive industry and manufacturing, quite frankly, because that industry has changed dramatically. It's downsized. It's global. And if you don't have some technology in your education, it's going to be very difficult to get a job. I have a grandson who just finished his first 2 years in community college, and he's trying to figure out what he needs to do as a next step, because even with a degree from a community college, he's not going to get a really good job. So education is going to be paramount as we think about from where we are to where we have to go to be a competitor on the global marketplace.
Michael Nutter of Philadelphia, the mayor, is a friend of mine. You know him. He's a colleague. He once said when he went into office, before he faced this terrible shortfall of wealth in that city because of people moving out in the recession, we could teach young men and women as well really sophisticated state-of-the-art mechanics. I'm not talking about a job you got a pliers and a screwdriver. I'm talking about being able to fix a Mercedes. Are we educating kids coming out of our schools with that kind of technical knowledge, public schools or not?
No, we're not, and that's a problem because, once again, even though the industry has shrunk in the United States, it's still a major player from a global standpoint. And once again, coming out of high school or dropping out of high school without a degree where you could get a job historically making $80,000 to $100,000 a year, that day is over. You've got to have the technical education and capability to add value once again and be employable.
Can you go to GM or Chrysler or Ford and say to the owners, the CEOs, why don't you send around as a regular part of your community service teachers to teach mechanics in our high schools so that our kids coming out of Detroit high schools will have a chance to work in your companies?
That is starting to happen. The conversation is underway, and I'm very pleased. Yes.
I want to cover that story.
But why just mechanics?
Because I think in Motor City, let's start with that. What works?
Right.
Because I think not every kid wants to do liberal arts. Not every kid wants to get all A's. A lot of kids, I'm talking about regular people.
Yes, I understand.
The all A kids are going to make it.
Yeah, but regular people can have administrative functions in car dealerships.
I know the service industries are there. They're going.
Yeah. Sorry.
You're getting mad at me. I'm just sitting here. I'll take it. Thank you, Velma. You got mad at the president. You got mad at me. Thank you, Mayor David Bing. Thank you. And Velma Hart with a point of view. When we're